answer session. Please pay attention to this. Yeah. So one user has asked what details need to be shared for requesting the onboarding of new user. As we have mentioned, there is a certain format, change request form, which we call it by. We'll share that format after this session is over to all the users who are participating in today's session. There are basically two files. One file is an Excel file where you need to give the details of the users, of the supervised entity. And there is one change request format. So for each and every user, you need to give us one form. So when you are going to send us the new user onboarding request, you please attach those files and we will onboard them. So we'll share those templates of those files with you once this session is over. Next, there is one query that we do not have any customer interface. So do we come under the purview of Daksh? Yes, of course. It is not about customer interfaces. Each and every supervised entity, whichever entity has received the certificate of registration from RBI, all those entities need to be onboarded on Daksh. There is no criteria. You are being supervised by RBI, that is the only criteria. Basically, our NBFCs, irrespective of their size, irrespective of their asset, irrespective of their exposure to customer interface, all of them needs to be onboarded. Next is one user has said that we are receiving emails from Daksh, but we did not receive the user credentials, so we cannot file it. And this is the specific point which I had started today's discussion with. There is no concept of default credential. Please remember this point. You are receiving emails from Daksh application. It proves that your ID has been created. Okay, the specific email ID where you are receiving the Daksh communication is that particular email ID which is onboarded in Daksh. So as we have discussed during the initial 10 minutes of this session, that when you are trying to log in for the first time, there will not be any default password. You need to create your password on your own by clicking on the forgot password link. So please follow those steps and you will be able to log in. There will be no different credential or different user ID to be provided by Daksh team. Please do not wait for Daksh team to provide such credentials because there is no concept like this. You yourself has to create your own password. The fact that you are receiving emails from Daksh proves that you have been onboarded, and you might have received SMSs also. So please try to log in with that email ID by clicking on forget password. You can set your password, and then you will see whatever returns are published and whatever are pending for you. And there is one interesting question. After we receive the user IDs, can we file the previous returns? It depends on the due date. I have mentioned, there is a concept of due date, by which date you will be able to file your returns. So in case if that date is still there, of course you will be able to submit your responses. But then you please remember that at least two users are required in Daksh to participate in any workflow. One user is maker, another user is checker. And at least two different IDs should be there. And second thing is, if the due date is over already, then during the discussion of return module, we have demonstrated how to reach the RBI point of contact. It is not the Daksh team. For none of the returns, the point of contact is Daksh team. Daksh team is only the facilitator. So for each and every return, the point of contact could be different. Seeing in your to-do list, in your work queue for which you are supposed to submit the response, there is a specific point of contact for that return as well. So you need to approach to that mail ID that you please give us the extension. And there is one button for request extension as well. We have already demonstrated all these features in the during the discussion of return module. You can click on that return request extension button and seek for extension. The respective user who had initiated the return form would give you the required extension if it is at all needed. And if it is very old return for which you then might not require the information anymore, then they may ignore your request. But at least you have to try. You have to log into the application and see if there is anything pending at your end. Next is are the ad hoc returns to be filled in periodic interval? It depends. Ad hoc returns, there may be one-time return, there may be periodic return. Ad hoc return can be of two types. There may be some of the return forms which are required only for once. Those are called one-time returns. So they need not be filled in periodic interval. But if the RBI user decides that I need this set of information on a periodic interval, then they would ask it in periodic interval. So it depends. There is no blanket rule. There is no hard and fast rule. It's very, very flexible, very, very configurable by the RBI. Now, moving to the compliance module, the most important part, just like return module, here also we have the concept of due date. So whatever compliances are pending in your queue, please pay close attention to the column due date. As in the left-hand panel, we can see that there is a column for due date. Please be very strict on your timeline. Try to stick to the timeline. Do not miss the deadline. But in case if you miss the deadline, there is an alternate avenue. While we are trying to capture the compliance culture, we also want to ensure that if the AC tries to submit their entity tries to submit their response, they should be able to do it. So that is why even if the due date is expired, you can request for extension. But just like a return module, here also we capture why exactly you had missed the deadline. The request extension comment is very, very necessary. And there are few status, like if the compliance action para has not been responded even once, then the status would show as pending for response hyphen new. New word is there. It means the response has not been submitted to RBI even for once. If you have submitted the responses, then the response would show as the status would show as response submitted. Now, if RBI is not satisfied with the response what you had sent, they may send it back with some additional. They may require some additional clarification, some additional attachment, some additional documentary evidences. So, in those cases, the status would change from response submitted to pending for response. So, in pending for response, if new word is there, it means we have not submitted the response. If new word is not there, it means RBI has analyzed your response and had sent it back. So you need to resubmit the response. So when RBI is sending such responses, they mandatorily need to give the comments why they are rejecting your response, why they are treating it as not complied, what more information they need, what are their supervisory expectations. They need to mention it. How you will find those comments? Those comments will appear under the external comment section. This external comment section will show you the RBI comments. Whatever comments the RBI users have put, those comments will appear here. And internal comment section means the workflow management tool. Whatever comments you are entering there at internal comment section will not be visible to RBI. Same goes for RBI also. We also have our internal comments for our own reference, and those are not visible to AC. So there is watertight containerization. We had conducted at least half a dozen workshops for the chief compliance officers of all the big commercial banks, the upper and middle layer NBFCs, the big UCBs, and there we have demonstrated whatever internal comments at any module, whatever internal comments users are pasting, users are entering, remain internal to that particular organization. It does not come to RBI or vice versa. So you can have complete trust in the application. You can use this application as your internal workflow management tool. Now there is another field on which supervised entity users sometimes get confused at AC status. What is this compliant and not compliant all about? So there are two radio buttons. This is just a submission from the supervised entity. Of course, the ultimate decision whether a para is to be treated as compliant or not compliant. So the ultimate decisions lie with the RBI. This is just one additional submission from the supervised entities that whether their response may be treated as compliant or maybe or not. Now, there may be a few instances where you need some more time to be fully compliant with what RBI is telling. Maybe there is a requirement of new system integration, new software integration, which my new user onboarding in a new system, which might take some more time. So in such cases, if your due date is approaching, it is always advisable that you mark such instances as not complied. If you mark any para as not complied, the advantage is you can always update your response. Of course, all your responses would be captured by RBI. It will not happen that you have mentioned something, you will delete it, and and you will overwrite it. That will not happen. Both the responses will be captured by the application, and both the responses will be visible by RBI. But the advantage is, without involvement of RBI, you can update your position, compliance position. So if you think that this is not compliant, just for the sake of compliance, please do not mention it as compliant, because in that case, the moment you have marked it as compliant, it has come to RBI and you cannot change anything. Now RBI will decide whether they would treat your para as compliant or not compliant. So if you are not sure, it is better you leave it as not compliant and let the RBI take the decision. Next, there are attachment option, as we have mentioned, for the documentary evidences are required in compliance in return. So as far as attachments are concerned, the attachment size, the maximum size of a single file allowed in this application is 30 MB, and there may be multiple files. So you can submit documentary evidences amounting to 500, 600 MBs also. If there is a big file, you can split it into chunks of 30 MB, and you can easily upload 10, 20, 30 files. The file size of a single largest file maximum possible is 30 MB. But that is not the total file size limit. Total file size limit can go up to 500, 600 MB for each and every action para. Remember that. Okay, so these are the major critical points in the compliance part. And we have received few more questions. We will continue discussing them after the next module. There are few more small modules. These two modules, basically return and compliance, are the major module, the biggest module for the NBFC users. There are certain other modules which are inspection, complaint, and communication. So please go through all these modules. Next, we are going to demonstrate these modules, and whatever questions you want to ask, you please put them in the chat box.